Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to another Arkansas football recruiting report. That's Otis Kirk. I'm Jacob Morris. And Otis, I'm going to give the viewers, the listeners, a little look behind the curtain. On Sunday mornings, when we're getting ready to do these, you send over, a list of topics that you want to talk about with whoever's talking with you. And you're very detailed usually, and you provide, hey, I want to talk about this kid. I want to talk about this topic, maybe the game that just happened for the Razorbacks. Today, you just said, I have a ton to talk about. So we're just going to
Yeah,
get into it because portal
and there was
season
no,
is
and there,
obviously in full swing for the Razorbacks. And I know
yeah,
it's not specific. We're just going to go through a whole lot of information today, and it's a crazy time for the Razorbacks. But we'll just kind of move in order a little bit. Arkansas gets its first portal commit from Jaquan McCroy, just a massive human being, an offensive lineman from Oregon, 6'8", 360. That is a mammoth of a human being. The Razorbacks get their
man.
first offensive line get out of the port.
Yeah, he's a kid that they almost got last year in
Yeah.
the high school ranks out of Clay Chalkville High School out of Pinson, Alabama, Jacob. And at the last minute, he went to Oregon. His family was kind of upset because they didn't want that long distance to go see him play at Oregon. He redshirted, but he told me, he as soon as he got on campus, he announced it. But he told me he's known for a while that he was going to be a Razorback, and so it was no suspense there. Arkansas got a lot better there because this
Yep.
kid, 6'8", 360, 370, 375. I mean, he doesn't have an ounce of fat on him, and he is just a big human. He got a great personality. I mean, he's nicknamed Shaq for obvious reasons. But he's just he will help them immediately. You can plug him in. You've got Carmona.
Mm-hmm.
That will allow probably Amariat Harris to move inside. Uh, you know, Probably where he's better at. And but this was a good pickup for Sam and Eric Mateus. But he said, it was just that he said he almost regretted immediately that he went to Oregon. Everybody thought he was going to Arkansas, and he said he really regretted it pretty quickly. And but he is just a big kid, good natured. Love talking to him. He's got a smile most of the time, except when he's on the field. But he is a load to go against in the SEC. He will do well. Getting a kid from number one Oregon, that's pretty good. You get a 4-star, that's even better. So this kid is well, I don't know if he's a kid. I mean, he's 6'8", 370. This man might be more appropriate to say this man is someone, though, that they can plug in immediately and will help on the offensive line. I like him a lot, Jacob. I really thought they'd get him last year, but they didn't. But that's the thing about the portal. You lose a kid, but you keep a good relationship, because you don't know, will it be 1 year? Will it be 2 years? Maybe never, but you may get 1 or 2 years. You may get a second shot. And Arkansas handled it really well. Sam handled it really well with Jaquan, and he remembered that. And so there was no hard feelings, and he jumped on board immediately. And that was the first signing that U of A announced. And it's kind of appropriate he was first because, tell you what, he is a big time player.
Yeah, and you took the words right out of my mouth there. We've talked about that pretty extensively, right? Where it's a new era of recruiting. You never want to burn bridges regardless. But I mean, you talk about a guy that, I mean, this is not just a run-of-the-mill offensive lineman. This is a 4-star guy that went to number one Oregon and like 24/7. He's a top 100 recruit last year, right? And you don't burn that bridge. You keep that relationship, and 1 year later, he's making a new decision, and you're able to net him. I know we have a lot of kids to move through, but that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of maintaining those relationships.
ESPN had him the number 4 offensive tackle last year's class. So he was ranked real high he's a consensus 4-star. He's ranked high, but yeah, that's a great start for Arkansas right there. That was a great start. And now we're going to talk about some of the others, but that was really a heck of a way to start the process.
Yeah. And obviously, for good reason. Fans concerned, obviously, with the mass exodus, the mass departures, right? And I think there was a lot of concern, are you going to replace these guys with non-power conference guys? Is that what's really going to happen? And on to the next guy. They pull Kenai Walker, an Oklahoma DB, right? And so an SEC guy as well. And so you talk about a good start for Arkansas in the portal. Yes, never good to lose everybody. Sam was up front about that. And right and room for concern, but another nice pickup in the secondary where we know Arkansas is going to need a lot of help.
honestly, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but yesterday, Arkansas may have signed their starting cornerbacks in 2025. Kanai Walker, OU, and Keyshawn Davila
Yeah.
from junior college. They may have actually, now there'll be competition, but those two kids, they may have signed their cornerbacks, starting cornerbacks. But getting back to Kanai, because we're going to talk about Keyshawn, but getting back to Kanai, he is 6'2, 206, and I thought he was going to be a safety, but they assured me he's going to be a cornerback, and he can hit you, but he's who you need to match up against the Andrew Armstrong types, the big receivers, that that you go against in the SEC, the LSU kids, the Alabama kids, A&M, all of them. Those Tennessee, they have these big receivers, and Kanai is someone that you can match up with those guys. He did that at OU, and I really like him too. He got here, he came with his girlfriend, and he just said, it might be his wife. I'm sorry. He had his girl. He called his lady. He had her with him, and he just said that she loved it here too. And he said, I've got other visits, but I don't think I'm going to take them. He said, there's no need to. I see what I've seen. I need to see to know this is it. It's a different process, Jacob, for the kids to the portal compared to when they were in high school.
Yes.
They come in all excited, they want to get wined and dined.
Pictures, yeah.
All the retweeting. These kids now, these portal kids, they just want to know. They want to he and Darren Wilson sit and watch film and didn't even go to lunch. They got a carry out and went back and watched more film. They didn't even take the break to go eat lunch. They ran and got a carry out and a box lunch and came back to the office and watched more film. That's what they want to know. They want to see, and this is where Arkansas is doing a really good job. I'm sure other schools do too, but this is where Arkansas has done a really good job. They show these kids how they're going to use them. And that's what is really important to these portal kids. Every one of them told me, Arkansas told me, and not just told me, but they showed me on film how they're going to use me.
Yeah.
And that's important because these kids have 1 or 2 years to play. Now, Shaq has 4, but most of them have 1 or 2 years to play. And they want to know because they don't want to waste a decision. And Kanai was convinced that he didn't tell me who the other 2 schools was. I know there was a lot of offers for him, but he just said, I don't need to see them. I've seen what I need to see. And so he pulled the trigger, and that's just huge because the cornerback, to me, cornerback was probably as big a need as there is in the portal for them. I mean, it really is. I get tight end, I get offensive line, I get defensive line. I mean, I get secondary, but everything but safety. But I mean, I thought cornerback to me was about as important as any position that they could recruit. And this kid is going to come in here now. I mean, they've got James Singletary, they've got other players out there that Selman Bridges. I love him. So they may not, but I think Kanai will definitely have a chance to start being certainly going to be in the rotation. But SEC kid and just somebody that can come in and give a physical presence back there in the secondary. I think that's important. But I think Arkansas definitely got better with him, and we'll see how he does when he gets here. Good thing about it, he will be here in the spring. I think all these kids we're talking about will be here. They'll be here in the spring. We'll see. They'll get a chance to see how they fit in. We'll see how they fit in with Arkansas. So, but I like that, and that's the thing. It's just you've got to make decisions in Arkansas. Focused on Kanai and Keyshawn Davila, and that's where they put their focus, and they got them. And there's probably going to be other cornerbacks, but that was their focus. They were able to tell Will James from Southern Miss no, because they got those 2 kids. So Will was going to sign, but they told him they weren't going to take him, so he went to Houston. And so that way they make a quick decision, and they didn't have to keep a Will on hold or string him out. But when you get Keyshawn and Kanai there, that solidified what they knew that was the 2 priorities that they wanted, and so that was really huge for them. And so I think that that was the just way to go. And like I said, they're getting some quick decisions from these players, and that's important too, because not just the player needs to know where his focus is, but university needs to know,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we want X number of players, like on the defensive line. We want 2 defensive ends, they say. We want 2 defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Well, the quicker you solidify some of those spots, then you can focus in on your truer need. Do you need one more tackle? Do you need one more end? We'll talk about that position in a minute. But cornerback to me was just as big a need as they had on that field. And I get tied in. I agree. It's huge. But and we're going to talk about 2 tight ends that come in, and pretty sure they're getting one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Maybe
not,
both of them.
yeah. It's not the end all be all, but for me, a lot of the times when you look at these kids that you get in the portal, right? These kids, like you're mentioning, it's less about the hoopla of the recruiting process. They just want to play. They want to see the field. And it's not the end all be all, but sometimes you look at the place that these players come from, and it does mean a lot. When you talk about McCroy coming from an Oregon team that's the only undefeated team in the entire country, is by all measures one of the best cultures in the entire country with Dan Lanning running that. And then you talk about Walker coming from an Oklahoma defense, Brett Venables' system, that was one of the best defenses in the entire country. And it doesn't mean everything. There's exceptions to every rule, but it's helpful when you talk about that and where these kids are coming from. But let's talk a little bit about Davila, another JUCO pickup for Arkansas, the number 1 JUCO corner in the entire country. Virginia Tech, UCLA, Florida was in there as well. You mentioned that Arkansas wanted him, and Arkansas ends up getting the signing from him as well.
He was the number 2 junior college player, number 1 corner, as you said, number 2 overall player, regardless of position. They signed 2 JUCO kids, he and Bubba Craig, who we had on here a week or 2 ago, or recently. But Keyshawn can really run. He told me, he plays the ball well in the air. He knows how to intercept. He knows how to play, and I can just see him coming in. You don't want to get too many junior college players, but when you get the pick of the litter, kind of the pick of the litter overall, you're getting the number 1 cornerback, one of the top offensive tackles in the portal, All-America there with Bubba. Then you feel good about it. So, but for a while, junior college recruiting had kind of gone by the wayside with the portal and everything. But now schools are realizing, hey, there's still some talent there. And you can cherry pick, and that's what Arkansas has done. In these 2 instances, they kind of cherry pick. We need they say we need a corner, so they go get Davila. Need a tackle, they go get Bubba Craig. So you just and getting Bubba Craig and Shaq or McCroy, that's huge. That starts you off there. You filled a spot, and then you got Cremona's already announced he's coming back, and then you got other players. So I feel really good about where they're going on that tackle position, and they're going to solidify some more on the offensive line. And also that kind of like last year, it allowed some of these kids to move inside that maybe are more fit, more suited to play inside than they were at tackle, but you play out of necessity. But getting Shaq, but same way with Davila and Kanai. Just this is huge, and I like how Arkansas is handling this. And but Davila can really run. He's 6'1", about 170, maybe 165.
Yeah,
not the physical guy that Kanai is, but really can move and kind of fits in great. I mean, Kanai can take the bigger guy. Keyshawn maybe the quickest guy, the smaller guy, the shifty guy. So it really fits what they're doing, and I like how they approach this. And Marcus Woodson, Darren Wilson doing a good job. Will Deek on that deep staff and getting these players in place. And I like the way I like how they got started at it. Let's put it that way, Jacob. I like the start.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, I was right there, I think, with the majority of the fan base when obviously you see the mass exodus, you see the departures. Yeah. I was right there, slamming that big red panic button as well. But what these first 3 signings did at least was it's the start that you want, right? Yeah. You have to, there is still a lot of work to do. It is not a place where you're satisfied in terms of what Arkansas has pulled in, but it did make me at least take a deep breath and say, I'm waiting to see how this turns out, right? And so moving back to the offensive side of the ball, a place that we know Arkansas needs help as well. Raylan Sharp, Fresno State receiver, he's made a decision. Arkansas obviously would like to have him. He's a guy that the Razorbacks have targeted and want to bring to Fayetteville as well.
Yeah, there will be an announcement today. Yeah. There will be a release on where he's going. And Raylan is a shifty receiver. Played 2 years at Missouri State before he went to Fresno. played for Ronnie Fouch up there, and
Mm-hmm.
in 2022 he played for Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
And in 2023, he played Ronnie Fouch after Bobby went to A&M. And then he moved on to Fresno State. Had a pretty good season at Fresno State. So, and he had like, oh man, he even threw a touchdown pass after a 26-yard touchdown pass. Really good player, can run, turn, punch, stuff. But Raylan is someone that they need receivers. That's another position.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they're going to sign 4 or 5 there. And there's 2 kids at that position that has not been put out there yet. And I'm telling you, Arkansas is almost certainly going to get. And when they do, fans are going to be wowed by it. I mean, there's 2 names that I can't release right now, but there's 2 names that's coming to Arkansas, probably, almost certainly. And they haven't been, the names haven't been released yet, but they will be. And fans are going to be blown away by this because these are impact players. These are not.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about good players. I'm talking about impact players, guys that come in and make a quick impact next fall. And you need that, losing Andrew Armstrong, Isaac Tisla, and the other guys are losing, Isaiah Satana. So you need impact players, and they're getting ready to get some. And Raylan Sharp is someone that can come in. He knows the Bobby Petrino system really well. He was a running track at Houston. He was a hurdler, Jacob. Wasn't he playing football? And he went down to Houston. Well, then Missouri State got him up there, and he caught, I don't know, maybe 16 or something. I wrote that this morning, like 16 catches his freshman or his first year. The next year he caught nearly 80, and then he went to Fresno this year. He caught about 60. So he's had a good career, and he's someone that can. I think Arkansas will use him if they get him. We'll use him very wisely, and he's smaller receiver, 5'9", 165. Some of the other kids I've talked about that I'm kind of hinting about are bigger kids, bigger players. So there's going to be a good mixture there. He may be more like an Isaiah Satana than he is a Andrew Armstrong or Isaac Tesla. So that's the difference. But you need all variations there. I like to, with the shiftiness of the smaller guys, they can get in there and do those quick hits. And so I think you need both. I don't think you need to get all 6'4", 6'5" receivers. I like the smaller guys too. And they're getting a pretty good mixture. I really like what they're doing in recruiting. Now, I mean, obviously, they've got a lot still to do, as you said.
Yeah.
But if they keep up and they get what I think they're going to get, they're going to be pretty good. They really are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know other schools are getting great players too. I get that, but I'm just saying where they were at a week ago to where I think they're headed. I think people are going to be, they're going to be surprised. They're going to be pleased, for the most part. Now, it's still got to all come together.
It does.
Games are not played on paper, and I totally get that. So it's still got to, but it's got to come together for other schools too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Arkansas has a chance. I mean, losing Luke Has was that hurt, man. And that's guy you're not going to replace.
Bad.
You're not going to get you a Luke Has out of the portal. But I do think that they've got a chance for the most part to get some players that are as good or better than what they lost. And I do think that some of these guys are pretty hungry. Like Raylan Sharp's hungry. Mm-hmm. He wants to prove he can play at the Power Four. He's proved at Missouri State. He's proved at Fresno State that he can play with those guys on that level and dominate. Yeah. He told me he wants to play at the Power Four and show what he can do because he's confident in his ability. And he's going to, I think he's getting ready to he's going to go Power Four. And I think he's going to get a chance to show what he can do. And I think he'll show it and prove that he belongs on that level, Jacob. I really do.
Yeah. There's, again, I sound like a broken record. I'm in the skeptical party of there's still a lot to see. There's still a lot for Arkansas to do. But I did think it was interesting, the confidence that Sam demonstrated from the standpoint. He's right. He said, we've done pretty darn well in terms of portal evaluations. And he made the point, and I didn't even think of it. He said, all 4 of our All-SEC guys this year, we got out of the portal. And so that's why, you have a little bit of confidence there in terms of portal evaluations. But you mentioned Luke Has, obviously, that's a tough loss for Arkansas. There's no sugarcoating that. There's no making that feel better. But it's a good segue to a tight end target the Razorbacks are trying to get, an SEC guy, Jaden Platt out of Texas A&M. He's another guy. You sensing a theme here? familiar with Petrino, familiar with the system. Anybody seeing a theme here? The Razorbacks looking to add Platt to the roster, obviously need to bolster the tight end room in a big way.
Something I had forgotten about. Jaden Platt committed to Morgan Turner at Stanford.
Yeah.
And he committed, and I had forgotten that. And Jaden committed to Coach Turner. Then Coach Turner and the staff left out there, so he went to A&M. But yeah, he's at Arkansas Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Left early this morning, but he canceled his Florida State visit, and that was a little bit surprising. Yeah. But he canceled Florida State, so a decision's coming on him. 6'5", 260, and I feel really good about him. Obviously, a lot better than if he'd have taken the Florida State visit, but. They brought in him, and then earlier in the week, Monday, they could bring in portal kids. The portal opened up. They brought in Zach Atkins from Northwest Missouri State, and he's closing in on a decision too. Got a lot of options: South Carolina, Ole Miss, Arkansas. So LSU offered him. So, but I feel better on Platt than I do Atkins, although they could get both of them, and God knows they need both of them.
Yes,
but. I do feel a lot better on Platt than I do Atkins, but we'll see. But they could get both. But I do feel the confidence they'll get at least one of those two, and then and for people asking, they're wanting at least three, maybe two to four tight ends, probably three out of the portal. They're really wanting those three or four portal tight ends are wanting, and if they could get those guys, then they'd narrow it down to probably just needing one more. If you could get Platt and Atkins. But Platkins offers the size. Atkins is a perfect example of what happens in the kind of like Andrew Armstrong. Didn't get recruited heavily out of high school, and he was a receiver, up in Kansas City. He got to Northwest Missouri State, put on weight, 50 pounds or so, and got up to 245. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants the kid, at tight end. But that's what happens. And used to, these kids were trapped at those smaller schools. Now, though, and for people wondering about Arkansas taking kids out of smaller schools, here's the deal. Used to, on the NFL draft, there'd always be players that you say, we get drafted in first, second, or third round. You say, who is that? Yeah. Where's that school? Now, you may not see as much of that because the college and power forwards are going in and getting those kids before they get draft eligible. And I saw Andrew Armstrong play in high school. I saw him play in high school. He simply wasn't that good. To be honest with you, he just wasn't. He went to A&M Commerce and got down there and just dominated. And prayers up for Andrew. I tell you what happened to his family yesterday is just devastating, man. And prayers up for him, his mother, a great lady. I just that's just sad situations. There's not a good ending to that. And really regret everything about that. But I just want to say prayers up to that whole entire family. They're good. They're good people, man. Armstrongs are good people. And but anyway, I feel good about getting at least one of those two tight ends, Jacob. I think they'll get Platt for sure. Atkins, I'm not as sure about, but if they could get both, then they can really focus in on getting one more and go from there. And they gave Maddox Lassiter a scholarship. So, and I think that was a smart move because the kids played a lot of football this year, and I think he earned a scholarship. Hopefully Brooks Edmondson may get one soon too. But we'll see on that. No one said that. I'm just saying that I'm looking at some kids that are playing and making contributions. Brooks may be the center out there to Liberty Bowl. And not really Arkansas. Well, it's not Arkansas recruiting, but Texas Tech lost their quarterback, Jacob, and I think that really is a blow to them. I know Arkansas lost a lot of players, and Tech lost some too. To be fair, they lost players too, but. Man, when you lose your quarterback, the backup quarterback had 15 passing attempts this year. So that's
15 completions, 23 attempts. Yeah.
So, okay, 23. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Same idea. Okay. Not a lot of experience in a true freshman. So,
okay, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
But 23 attempts. But that's a lot different because that kid that had the surgery, he put up some big time stats. And he was good. I saw them a couple times. Saw bits and pieces of their games. I never said watch the whole game, but saw bits and pieces of their games. But that's a blow to Texas Tech. That should help Arkansas. Doesn't mean they'll win, but you can lose players and it hurts you, obviously. But when you lose your quarterback, that's a different position, Jacob.
Yes. Yeah, different weight there for sure. And he's a 3,700 yard guy, 27 touchdowns, only I think 8 interceptions. I'm
Yeah, not
probably
very
missing
many
that by a little
interceptions.
bit, but he was really good. But going back to something you said, I think it's interesting because in terms of, you mentioned these guys at the FCS level, the non-power conference level, and I think you made a really good point about how, I think sometimes fans or whoever have an incentive to say, who the heck is this guy, right? In the same way that they would have. And I think the best kind of evidence for that, did you see this stat last night? Obviously, the Heisman Trophy was announced, and somebody pulled out, and this is unbelievable, but there's no better sign of where college football is now, like you were saying, than 8 of the top 9 finalists started at the FCS or non-power conference level. And I almost kind of had to read through it to even believe it, but it's true, right? And so, that's not to say that anybody that Arkansas is going to get is going to go win the Heisman. Nobody take that and run with it. My point is just there's talent there, and you don't have to look any further than what Andrew Armstrong did for this team. So, it's getting power conference guys are great, just like getting McCroy out of Oregon and getting Walker out of Oklahoma is phenomenal, but there is so much talent to pick from. You just got to pick the right ones. You got to trust your eval process.
That's why the NFL used to be filled with guys from that smaller conferences, and now there may not be as much, as I said earlier, because now they're transferring out to the Power Four, and it's good for the kids. They're going to get a chance to show what they can. Braylon Sharp, they'll get a chance now. He dominated those levels at Fresno and Missouri State, but now he's going to get a chance to show what he can do in a Power Four school. So it's big, and it works both ways. I know those coaches. Scottie Pippen would not have stayed at UCA if the rules then were like they are now. There's no way Scottie Pippen would have been a UCA guy. They would have been camping out down in Conway to get that kid. And Arkansas is still going strong. The offensive line, defensive line, 4 on the defensive line, two and two inside, 2 outside. I don't know how many offensive linemen they want. I know probably, I'm guessing 4 or 5. I'm talking about out of the portal now. Defensive backs, they're wanting quite a few there, obviously for obvious reasons. Tight end, round 3 is what they want. Wide receiver, at least 4, and they're in on some good ones. Like I said, they've got a couple coming in that will blow people away when they're announced. And running back, I think they'll take 1. Yeah. Eli Sanders is a target there from New Mexico. He visited earlier this week. He's at Virginia Tech this weekend. He's already been to a couple other schools. He's supposed to announce today. I don't know who for, but he's supposed to announce today. Now, that was what he told me. Whatever day I talked to him, he left.
They're all melting together for you, Otis. They're all melting together those days.
All days are the same now. I get up at 4 o'clock and I get ready to work recruiting, and I go to bed when I'm exhausted. But Eli Sanders, I think he left on the 13th. That would be Friday. So he told me that he was going to make an announcement today. So I don't know if that's still the case, because he did have Virginia Tech to go to. He'd already used his other 2 visits. And so, but Eli's a good running back, but I think they'll take 1. If they don't get him, they're looking at the Texas State kid and a couple other running backs that they're looking at. Texas State had a good one but I think Eli is probably the priority there. I'm looking real quick here. I know we're probably running out of time, but I'm trying to figure out if I missed somebody. Ken Talley is a defensive end from Michigan State. I don't think I mentioned him. He's going home today. He's here on campus. He was a 4-star in high school. What happened to Ken? He got Michigan State, and they changed coaching staffs, and the new coaching staff that came in didn't recruit him. And I think they preferred to play their players over him. Yeah. And I think Ken kind of got pushed to the back burner. He's a good player. David Oakey is a player, and that's how OKE. David Oakey from Abilene Christian, 6'2", 290. And before people scoff about Abilene Christian, I was told that I talked to David for quite a while, and Bill Belichick, one of the first offers he made at North Carolina was to David. And so that's pretty good. That's pretty good resume. One of your first offers was Bill Belichick. David was one of his first offers at North Carolina. A lot of schools have offered him. Michigan State, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State. There's been a bunch. He's 6'2", 290. He would obviously be one of the interior linemen on the defensive line. That's a couple of defensive linemen I wanted to mention, Jacob. J.J. Hester, another kid from OU, wide receiver. He is leaving today. In fact, he is probably left. He is left by now. J.J. Hester played at Missouri, then went to OU, and now he's in the portal again. And he was at Arkansas for an official visit. and I feel really good about him too. I feel pretty good about JJ Hester. So from Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, that's another name. So had a lot of names this week, and these are players that are legit options for Arkansas, and we'll see how many of them they get.
Yeah.
And I was there. We've talked about maybe 10, 15 kids. Sam said Monday or said Thursday he had 29 visits lined up. I think I've had about half of them. So there's still a lot of more visits coming. There's they've got a receiver from Charlotte will be here Thursday. Offensive lineman from Ole Miss, Broussard, Tavion Broussard, I'm sorry, 6'6", 290. He's coming in Thursday. So is the wide receiver. So from Charlotte, who's really fast. Well, they're keeping it going, and the dead period will start after next Sunday, a week from today. The dead period will start. So the next week it's going to be just like this week was. It's going to be 4 o'clock until it's exhausted. So it's going to be go for it. Be that. I like it though because it's fun, because it's interesting. You're meeting a lot of new people, and kids are getting a chance to better their career. Yeah, and that's exciting for me to see a kid have a chance to. Maybe he got stuck at, I shouldn't say stuck. That's probably not a good way to put it. He was at a smaller school. Now he got a chance to maybe move up and see what he can do, and in an Arkansas or Alabama or an LSU or an Oklahoma. So we'll see, but I like the chance. I think it's an exciting time for Arkansas football, and I think Sam's right. If fans will be patient, I think they'll be rewarded with this, but at least on paper, and that's all we can go by right now. Because I mean, but the good thing is, everybody we're talking about today, if they come here, they'll be here in the spring. We'll get to see them at spring ball. I don't know how much access we'll have, but we will get to see them at spring ball. They will get on the team, so it's going to be fun. And I think that. Just patience is required, and it's hard. I get it, man. When you see Luke Hatch, Jalen Braxton, Patrick Kudus, you see TJ Metcalf, see kids walking out the door. I can see where people get upset, and panic and, get depressed about it, get mad. But just remember, the portal taketh, but it also giveth. And that's what you got to remember. And I know that's tough. I get it. That kind of talent I just named walking out the door, it's tough. I get that. But I just saying, be patient and see what happens here at the end. And I think I think our fans will be rewarded here. I really like what that staff is doing over there in the portal. But that's all we can go by right now is what's on paper. Like I said, we don't know. But the good thing about the portal kids, for the most part, now Shaq didn't play at Oregon, but for the most part, most of these kids have played. Like Kenai Walker has played, so we know, he did it in the SEC in the SEC and the SEC competition. So you get an idea, you got a pretty good idea of what you're getting there. So I like that, and we'll just have to see how all this plays out, man. We got another week of it, though. We'll have the same thing next Sunday. I'll be on here rattling off names and got a cheat sheet to keep calling Ken, calling these kids by the wrong name or something. I just I don't know, but Ken Talley, I've wanted to call him Ken something else all the time. I don't know why I can't get Talley. I should just remember Fred Talley, but yeah, but names get stuck in your mind. But there's a lot of new names, and they're getting thrown at me this week, and but it's been fun. And like I said, patience. I guess patience is the best word. I know it's not easy, and I know people will say, "Oh, he's a homer," and all that. I'm just telling you what I talk to these kids and pass along what nobody knows it, but I just know it's never quite as bad as you seem to think it is. It's probably never as good as you seem to think it is. I'm just saying, that's all you can do. You might as well sit back, enjoy the process, watch it, and see how it plays out. That's all you do, because you can cry, you can get mad and throw a fit on here, but it's not going to change anything. So that's why I don't, because it's just it's not going to change anything. I mean, and the best when you lose a player, the best thing to do is go get one that's as good or better. But you can't always do that. But that's got to be your goal, and that's all you can do at this point, Jacob.